Have you heard from any of the others?
Nothing.
Our crew is scattered. I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, I got you. I got this on camera.
Our Lara has gone through a lot of changes. I am Couch Coop, and this is my look at Rise of the Tomb Raider from 2016. This is just the Tomb Raider trailer from 2013. So the series went through a bit of a God of War thing, where they just rolled out this brand new third-person RPG that was in the vein of the IP, massive rework. Laura did not look like this prior to 2013, and I will call her Laura and Lara by accident. I do that a lot with girls' names. I think it's quite funny. So Rise of the Tomb Raider came out as a definitive edition. I got the box set. It was rolled out with, I think, just general release. It wasn't something that you had to dig for. Now, the game got 75 nominations for being one of the best games of that particular year and making that jump to sort of next gen. The game is considered quite important in my eyes because it's a bit like Second Son. It had a patch that allowed you to play at 4K at 30 frames on a PlayStation 4 Pro. So if this is running on a PlayStation 5, what do we get now then? Well, God only knows is the answer to that. I tested all of these versions, and the low res 1080 60 frames per second is great, but obviously if you've got it on a 4K TV, it looks a bit of a mess. So the 4K quality switchover seems to be running at 60 frames per second. Please don't quote me on that, and don't put anything in the comments and spend the afternoon researching it to make sure I'm proved wrong. This is the performance mode. You can see that tree, some of that distance stuff, it's like twinkling. It doesn't look that great, so I switched it out, stayed with quality, and I play obviously a lot of third-person RPGs on that PlayStation 5, stuff like Returnal, Remnant from the Ashes 2. This felt fine. It really felt smooth. I coped with all of its performance perfectly, and it's not a quiet game by any stretch. The last time, obviously, I looked at this game was on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and my memories of it were okay. I wasn't like, this is a standout Tomb Raider game, and there's been sequels from it since. To say I didn't deep dive the game back then is an understatement, and as time has gone by, this game has sort of crystallized more in the hierarchy of modern Tomb Raiders games as maybe the strongest. I also just kept saying the numbers 2016 to myself out loud all the time. This game bowled me over with its visuals. We're in a strange gaming industry decade. I think what it could point to is that we haven't seen any major jump in engines since about 2014. We do have the new Unreal coming up, but a lot of games over the last decade have been using quite similar physics and video game engine setups, so we don't see any major jumps. I will get to the actual game in a second. Look at these atmospherics creeping through these tombs. There's nothing to worry about, me. I don't know what you're so frightened of down here. I'm not going to move on until we've all looked at this. Look at this. Look at this. Like that new Ark Survival Evolved. I don't know if you've seen footage or even played the new game. It's essentially been sequeled without Vin Diesel. Some good has come of that. The time that's passed between those two games is absolutely ridiculous. We've had rockets sent to outer space. COVID was invented. There's just so much that's happened on a tech front. I can't believe that that game looks the way it does. Judging from those GTA 6 links and some of the looks of those graphics, I mean, I know it's not final build. I'm very interested to see what changes to that Rage engine have been made by Rockstar, but it doesn't look like anything major, and I know there's going to be initial disappointment. The jump between Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 was barely noticeable on an engine front. I did find some low resolution in the form of shadow cast from a projection light. Isn't that amazing? That's the only place where they obviously didn't do some scrubbing on the upscale. And a similar thing with Assassin's Creed Origins and the fire. Have you been outside lately, mate? 4 minutes, come on. Alright, let's talk to the 12%. Let's get to combat first, because initially it was a hurdle. I was thinking this game's really going to show its age. When push comes to shove and things start getting hectic, all of the scenery, all of the moving around, all of the sort of cliff edges and lovely vistas, that stuff's kind of easy. If this combat feels aged, then I'm not going to be able to play this game through. It feels like a Last of Us game with high-end enemy AI to a certain extent, throwables, distractions, sneak mechanics. There's no allocated crouch button, which winds me up a little bit. She will automatically do it when approaching cover. There's a large amount of fire around. The enemies will throw grenades at you, set fire to what you're taking cover in or on, and they're not just standard people. You get shields rolled out, you get big melee guys who will come up and try and hit you close quarters. You have to constantly move from cover because they are trying to pincer you. It was very satisfying. I was extremely impressed, and I think that's one of the reasons this game did so well on its year of launch, is because the combat is just so engrossing. Your gun types just feel really different, and the enemies, they're not spongy. A headshot will take people down normally, but you will have to make sure you're aiming in the right place, conserve pistol ammo. You even get like 8 different pistols to start with on the definitive edition. I thought they were to be unlocked, and I was like, no, you've got an Uzi off the bat. Also got quite a soulsy like health replenish system. You have to have the crafting elements to even put the health packs together, and you have to take a minute. You have to be out of combat. It's not like you get health given back if you just avoid taking a hit. You have to implement it. It's quite cool. It does cause a lot of panic, not as much as these underwater scenes though. Like an aquaphobe or people who are frightened of drowning. Everyone's frightened of drowning, Coop, but you know what I mean. You'd get really stressed with those, and save points, I wouldn't say few and far between, but if you bugger up, you have to do certain sections again. You heard me mention that Uncharted analogy, some of the action cutscenes and stuff you're involved in with this game between levels, and the way you're introduced to cliffs and hold on. So the death cutscenes and all that macabre material around what happens to Lara if she falls foul of a situation. You might have watched my Top Women in Gaming video, and obviously Croft was pretty damn high in there. And I complained about having to watch those time and time again. With this, on a lengthy playthrough, I barely didn't see as many as I did on that front end of the game on initial playthrough. I think they've put a lot of them in, especially with the bear and a lot of those spiked pits, just as an initial shock, so I was pleasantly surprised at how few of them I had to go through.
Shit!
This is normally the part of a video, well, they do it earlier than this, where big name YouTubers will stop for a whole minute and a half and tell you about some stupid Raycon earbuds, right? Ruin the consistency of the video to sell you some crap. All I'm going to do is show you an amazing twin-stick Lara Croft game that's available as a local co-op, up to 4 people, sitting smack bang in the middle of my top 25 list. What is also totally worth looking at are Laura's outfits. I'm going with the jodhpurs and the sort of period look here, Explorer-esque. You get, I think, 8+ with the definitive edition to switch out. You can go with the traditional little red puffer she's wearing on a lot of the initial clips from the game. I really enjoyed switching those out. Now that brings me to the extra content that's been added since day one launch of the game. So when I played this on the PlayStation 4, there wasn't massive patches, there wasn't all these new icons on the map, and some of it has got a supernatural direction with this, which it goes full Far Cry 3.
No, must be dreaming. It isn't real, it can't be.
I thought this stuff was so good. It was really refreshing from the sort of grounded, cold, hard look of the base game, seeing all this strange like images. I was very impressed with its adverse direction and confidence with these sections.
Not possible, it's just a myth.
Oh my god, it's another slow pan vista. I think you've got some problems, mate. Maybe I have. But there's 17,000 people who don't mind this, and we need to soak this up. Look at the rainbow, look at the water, even the detail on those wooden slats. This is a hell of a game for 2016. When I was getting the footage, I was always wandering around, you know, starry-eyed, looking at all the sort of artifacts and things on the walls. I'm never really concentrating at what's going on beneath me. And later on in the game, you get introduced to a bow and arrow that sort of gives you access to not really more of areas in previous maps, although it does do a little bit of that backtracking. The introduction of the sort of rope ladder thing does open up areas that you would have walked past previously, saw that sort of icon and realised that there was more to it than that. Thankfully, these map sections are really large. The earlier ones you don't have to go back to too much, but there are certain areas in the Russian occupied complexes that you can go up to with that rope swing ladder. Just on the outfit front here, this is an ancestral sort of Dark Souls 1 thing she's got going on here. Love the armor plates. Everything is so detailed. The small bits of snow in the ponytail, some of the lighting involved in these interiors, that bird flying through the wall, the Russian graffitied skeletons. You keep stopping all the time with this game and thinking, more fuss must be made. There is something, however, very sobering that I do need to talk about with this game, and its story is set in Syria. There's kind of like a sort of archaeological hunt going on for an artifact that's connected to some of that history. And the game involves mentioning a particular religious leader that, because my copy was purchased in the Middle East, is cut out. You guys all know what name I'm talking about here, and just the thought of saying it puts fear into my heart. No religion should get special treatment in video games, and no video games should be censored. If the country they're released in disagrees with the content of that game, then do not have that game distributed in your country. Don't start pulling things out to pander to the population. It's one of the biggest wind-ups for me in sort of modern media. Certain religions can be ridiculed and pushed around, and others seem to get preferential red carpet treatments. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm not a religious man by any stretch. In actual fact, I'm staunchly against most of it. But this was embarrassing. If I was a member of the particular religion mentioned here, I'd call it out and say, why are you doing this and not, with all of the other stuff? The inconsistency's not right. It's an injustice. And you might have seen my recent GTA woke video. Obviously, quite a lot of my subscribers have been very supportive of that, and thank you very much. But I'm moving into a period of content creation where I'm not going to stay quiet about these things anymore and look to try and fix a lot of it by myself with 17,000 subscribers. It cropped up in a Call of Duty game many moons ago. There was some text that appeared in the bathroom, okay, and the developers had to rework, patch and lift it all. This was a long time ago, and it was an online game, and doing that was not a small piece of work. I don't know how many bathrooms you've gone in Europe where there's a fucking statue of Jesus with graffiti all over it and someone's put a cigarette in his mouth. I actually don't think I've seen too many of them, but my point is no one says shit. Alright, can you get off your soapbox now and check this out. The smoke, the lasers coming through it, the explosions, the lack of frame drops, the pretty cool looking fire for 2016. This game is a bit of a mammoth. And if, like me, you've sort of got lost in all of the sequels, prequels, remakes, this is a really good place to start if you want to get your head round the modern Lara Croft games. I also think PlayStation 5 owners got a pretty damn good deal with an asterisk 60 frames per second on this 4K mode. I'd love some feedback on that, whether anyone's actually measured what this is running at. I was Couch Coop, and I am very much looking forward to seeing you down there. Please like, please sub, and go and play Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I got you.